So I want to show you what the code looks like for that SVG. And I did save it as I saved it as an SVG, but I can also go back to Illustrator here and say save as, and go down to SVG here and hit save, and then I can say SVG code, right? And that will pop up the code. So I'm going to copy all of this. And this looks a lot better than when we exported it. It's already kind of has some kind of organization or structure to it. So I'm going to copy all of this information and just go back to Dreamweaver and just paste it right into the body of this page. Hit save. And some of this doesn't want to preview, but if I go to my browser, right, there it is. Okay, there's my graphic. My graphic is scalable. And as it looks now, it looks okay if the screen is this size. Doesn't look great if the screen is maybe a phone or a tablet, right? And I want my landscape to be at the bottom of my page. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But what I want to do for this lesson is just to look at the code itself and try to make some sense of it. Okay, so because these are all kind of HTML tags, SVGs are a kind of HTML-based code. So what I have here is this. I have a comment out. This is just telling me that it was created in Illustrator, and I don't need that. What I see here is that I have a style tag. I have an SVG tag, right? And then it has some kind of metadata information that I'm just going to leave. And then I have a style tag, and my style has two classes that have two different kind of fills. Okay, and then I have for one class I have a stroke hex tag, and then I have the stroke width, and I have stroke miter limit, right? And then for the other, I just have the fill. So what I have here is then I have two graphic elements. I have a graphic with an ID of sun, and remember I changed the name of my layers because my layer names get translated to the ID of a particular graphic, and so it's good practice to have different graphics on different layers. If you're going to if you're going to include more than one graphic that you're going to use as code within your page. And so what is this? This says that this graphic, and there's a radial gradient that's embedded within the graphic, and this has an ID of SVGID1, and then it has some kind of X value, Y value, radius value, and then I have these different stops. So what are these stops? It tells me what the color is at different kind of positions. So at position 0, the color is white. At position 1, the color is this yellow. And then we have at different offset positions from the center to the radius is center to the radius is, the outside of this particular radial gradient, so the outside of the circle. We have the color yellow, and then we have everything in between. And so then this radial gradient with this ID gets referenced here in the style with this URL, with the hashtag, right? So then this line of code gets read in the style tag. So it's called, the statement is written here and it's called in the style tag. This is maybe more familiar as and what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to take this information and I'm going to cut it out of my style tag, and I'm going to put it up here. And you do see that we have this type equals text CSS, something that the browser takes as a default, but why not actually include it as an attribute up here just in case? Okay, so that's fine. Let's actually include it up there. And I can delete this style tag now. I don't need that any longer. And then if I really wanted this to look correct, I could give this all an extra tab because the SVG tag wraps the entire content, all the graphics, right? So then if I really want this to be clear on what the hierarchy is, I might want to clean this up a little bit. Right, there's my SVG tag. Even this though now, right, I would really have to. So I'm not going to be super picky about all of this maintaining such a clear organizational flow if you're going to embed things like SVGs. I mean, it might not be bad practice just to go ahead and, how long does this take? Really, like 30 seconds? Not too long, right? Now we can really see exactly what's going on with this. Just makes more sense, right? We have a radial gradient. And then there's the stops that are making up that radial gradient because this opening and closing tag wraps all of these tags. And then I have the path. If we go back to Illustrator here, we can see that within our, there are these little carrots we can toggle, right? We have a path. This is telling us this is a path, and look, it's a path, and it's a path tag. So within this layer, there's this one path, and within this layer, there's this one path. Okay, let me just go back here. So that's the path, and the path is given this class, and then it's given all of the vector information here as these numerical values. I didn't really mess with any of this. You can just kind of see that that's what it looks like written out. And then I have a second graphic with the layer ID of hill, and this has a linear gradient that has been applied. And that has at position, this was just at position 0. I have the stop color of green, and then at position 1. So this is from left to, or yeah, right, from top to bottom. I have this stop value of black, right? And so then I see that this particular ID of this SVG ID number 2, which is what it's given, and I can change these as long as I change them up here as well. Right, and so this is for this class. We have this linear gradient is applied to the fill. Okay, and it just so happens that for this, right, so this class or this graphic that has been assigned this class only has a fill. It has no stroke. Well, this one has a fill and a stroke. So let's say, right, that, okay, now that's looking all right. I mean, I'm sorry to be so kind of specific about this. It's actually late, and I'm kind of just taking up too much time with this. Okay, now this hierarchy is all maintained. If I go to my browser window, right, and let's say, well, I don't really like that the sun doesn't have a line around it. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm not so happy with that. So why don't I go ahead and copy all of this stroke information here. Let's say I want it to look exactly, let's try it, see what it looks like if it is given the same styling as the hill. That looks better. I like that a little bit better. Maybe I want it to have a little bit of a thinner width. So let me go in and say the stroke width is now 8. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so you can see how actually you can manipulate your graphics in the code. And there's something else that I'm noticing that I don't love, and that's that you can see it here. There's like this margin information. There's margin or padding around my graphics. So I might want to say in the body margin and padding is 0. See if that helps. And now I don't have that margin or that padding. I can say here in my this class here, this graphic, maybe I want to say that I want the width to be 110%. Let's see if that'll stretch it. Stretches it a bit, doesn't it? So now, potentially, maybe not. I don't know if that did anything. I'm just seeing if I can get rid of those lines on the side. There might be another way to do it. That didn't really do anything. Anyhow, getting rid of that, getting rid of the border seems to be important. There's definitely other ways that I would be able to. I might need to put this inside a div or something like that in order to make the div a little bit bigger, or in order to make this graphic kind of stretch past the bounds, but I don't want to get into trying to figure that out at this time. So let's leave this here, and then when we come back we can put this, we can get into a little bit more CSS, a positioning CSS.